everyone. Welcome back to the Wild Thoughts Podcast. I'm your co-host, Kat.
I'm your co-host, Afi.
And today we're going to be talking about the attachment theory. So we're just going to get right into it because we have a lot of information to share.
Yes.
So let's start with the poll.
So basically our question was just what type are you? And we had all four types. So 27% said that they are secure attachment. 13% said anxious. 47% said avoidant, so that's the highest one. And then 13% said fearful.
Damn.
Okay,
but I'm very surprised that there's like quite a few for secure.
Yeah,
like
that's
27%.
Good. I'm proud of y'all.
Yeah.
Good job.
I wish.
I mean, it's okay. We'll fix that.
Yeah. So what are you, Afi?
So I just found out that I think I am fearful. Kathy and I did the evaluation.
We did our self-evaluation. We didn't take an actual test, which we should have, but I feel like they're long, so.
Yeah, I feel like just by the description you can probably get an idea.
Yeah. I'm avoidant. I feel like you could tell from our episodes if you're like a consistent listener, like you can kind of tell what we are.
Yeah?
Yeah. You think? I feel like you see a lot of our personality in our episodes.
Yeah, true. But on like relationship level? Like how
we tell our stories and
maybe that's
like our
true.
story time episodes, I think so.
Yeah, like based on like how we act.
Yeah.
True, because we say like, oh, we're this, we're not this. Yeah,
exactly. True. Okay, so let's start to get into it. So we're going to start with what is attachment theory, just to kind of get some background. So when I was doing research, apparently this guy, John Bowlby, he discovered it, and he described attachment as a lasting psychological connectedness between human beings. So he was interested in understanding the anxiety and distress that children experience when they're separated from their caregivers. And then another person was talking about that attachment is also like your emotional bond with another person. And the earliest sign of bonding is obviously with a parent and their child. So a lot of the research and the explanations for these attachment types come from like a caregiver with their child.
Yeah.
We're going to see like how they came about with that scenario, but I feel like it doesn't always apply. And I feel like it also is influenced by like your own life and like how you interact with other people and stuff like that. Because you're going to see like, I'm avoidant, but I don't think what happened
in your childhood
in my childhood affected that. I think it was more like my life itself.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that.
Yeah. I think probably like most of the times, I guess it could be established when you're a childhood, but when you're a child, but I think it doesn't necessarily need to be like exactly said. Like it could maybe develop later on in your life or like with other things.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it. And then attachment is also the way we respond emotionally to other people and our behaviors and interactions with others. So that's basically it.
I feel like it has to do with someone else all the time usually.
Obviously.
Because
it's how you like interact and bond with another person.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then there's also two things that primarily influence your attachment. So it's either your opportunity for attachment. So that's kind of why they describe it with caregivers, because like, for example, children in an orphanage don't get the chance to like have that emotional bond with people. So often they don't form an attachment because they don't get that like motherly or fatherly bond. So they're kind of like in the more insecure types, not in the secure type. Another influence could be the quality of your caregiving. So like if you're a parent and like you're like distant or like let's say like alcoholics and stuff like that, like the children can't depend on you. So they're not getting the quality that they need to feel secure in their relationships.
Exactly.
Basically.
So they'll probably develop one of the insecure types.
Exactly. Let's dive into the attachment types. So there are 4 attachment types. So kind of like we said in the poll, there's secure attachment. So that's your ability to form secure and loving relationships with others. You trust easily, you love easily, and you can get close to other people with ease. Yeah. Why are you laughing?
No, because I'm like, this one's just like, you're just
perfect. Like secure. Yeah. You're not perfect.
You're not perfect. It's just like you're secure. Like you
exactly.
Said,
You're not afraid of intimacy, and you're secure even if your partner says they need space.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'm good with that.
It doesn't
like,
bother. It's not affecting your self-esteem or how you feel about yourself.
Yeah. It's a lot about self-esteem.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Then the second one is anxious attachment. So that's a form of insecure attachment style. So there's 3 insecure attachment styles, and then obviously there's secure.
Yeah.
So this is the first insecure attachment style, and it's marked by a deep fear of abandonment. So that's why you're like always anxious, because you're like,
Yeah.
are they gonna leave me? Are they
Exactly,
gonna
like-
like think I'm annoying and then like
Yeah.
not want me anymore? Stuff like that. And this can be your romantic relationship, but also your friendships. Then they're also very insecure about their relationships and again, worry that their partner will leave them, and they always need constant validation, because or else they're gonna be like, oh my God, they're gonna leave me tomorrow.
Yeah, like they're overthinking. They like self-worth, maybe. They have
Yes.
like low self-worth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then this is also associated with clingy behavior. So like an example, if your partner doesn't text back fast enough, you're anxious. You're like, oh my God, what are they doing? Are they with other people? Like
Yeah.
that's
Your
where
mind's always-
that's
yeah.
why. Exactly. You're like always like anxiety on high, you know?
Oh shit. Oh God.
Then the third one is the avoidant attachment. So this majority of people had in our poll. So let's get into it. It's another insecure attachment style, and it's marked by a fear of intimacy. So you have trouble getting close to others or trusting others in relationships. And relationships can also make you feel suffocated. Like if you get too close too fast, you're kind of like, okay, whoa, I need to remove myself from the
Yeah.
situation. And you're largely emotionally unavailable in your relationships, and you prefer to be independent and rely on yourself.
That's you.
So like basically avoidant, you're kind of like, I'm good with myself, and if other people get too close to me, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
like back up.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
basically the gist.
It's not a fear though. Oh, well, yes, a fear of
is.
intimacy. Okay,
Yeah.
of getting too close. Okay, yes.
I think you just like, you have trouble trusting other people.
Yeah,
That's like,
exactly. And you, because you're independent or secure with yourself, I guess.
yeah,
But not maybe necessarily feel comfortable, like you said, being vulnerable and like intimate with someone else.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I was kind of saying before that I don't think it's solely derived from your relationship with your parents.
Yeah.
Because like you can be going through like different dating scenarios that
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I don't trust people anymore. Like,
Exactly. Like they can, like these experiences can mold your attachment type for
Yeah.
sure. I think they can change too.
For
like
sure.
like we said, well, that's what we're talking about basically.
Yeah.
How to become secure attachment or etc. So they can definitely change.
Exactly. And then the last one, this is called fearful avoidant attachment style, aka disorganized. So this has a lot of names.
Yeah, I know.
And it's basically a combination of both the anxious and avoidant attachment styles. So you can desperately crave attention, but you also want to avoid any center of attention
Yeah.
at all costs. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like you're balancing on both ends, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're reluctant to develop a close romantic relationship, but at the same time, you have a dire need to feel loved.
This one's so funny. I don't know why. It's just like complete. It's like,
Yeah, it's like-
contradictory a little bit, but it
Exactly.
makes sense.
That's
yeah.
why if you guys saw the poll that we posted, it was saying how like your emotions or what did it? Inconsistent emotions, because it's kind of like
Behaviors, yeah,
you need love, but at the same time you're like, get away
Maybe
from me.
it's like when I feel like it. Like it's like, oh, one day I need space, the other day I need it. Like it's
Yeah.
very wishy-washy.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And then when I was reading a bit more about this, it's called disorganized because it's rare and not well researched, but it's associated with a lot of psychological and relational risks. So like including heightened sexual behavior, because you're trying to like compensate for the intimacy that way, but like not actually get close to them. Increased risk for violence in their relationship, and difficulty regulating emotions in general. I feel like we were saying, because you're so like wishy-washy,
Well,
like your
yeah.
emotions are on high all the time, and they're like
Yeah.
kind of crazy, that you just like
That's so interesting. I really want to do more. Like, well,
Yeah.
of course, when you relate to something, you're like, oh, I want to like know more about it. So I'm definitely gonna look into this more.
yeah.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. It's kind of, you're just like
This one's a
crazy
bit,
all the
like-
time. I feel like your mind is just so like
This one's like
too much happening.
I feel like not black or white. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, none of them are really black or white, but like this one is very like gray.
yeah.
It's like it
Yeah.
literally is just. Anyways,
Exactly.
It says there's less research for it, so
Yeah. Okay, so now that we kind of talked about what the types are, let's talk about how they were formed. So again, this is very heavily explained by your childhood parents.
yeah, a lot of caregiving,
Yeah.
parent-child relationship.
Exactly, but I don't think that's the base for it. but
Yeah,
anyways.
I don't think it's necessarily that for everyone. Like, obviously, maybe it's your environment, but
sure.
growing up, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be It could be maybe at school or
Exactly.
like
I think it's like any relationships that you go through throughout life.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so for secure attachment, they say that caregivers are responsive and attuned to their child's needs. For anxious, caregivers are inconsistent, unpredictable with affection, sometimes overly involved, and intermittently withdrawn. So it's like sometimes they're like showing you so much affection, and sometimes they're very distant.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, are you gonna
like
exactly. What's happening?
You get either the total opposite, like you get very high on one or very high on the other. Like it's not.
And that's why the fear of abandonment comes into play, because it's like, okay, yesterday you were like in love with me, and now today it feels like you're gonna leave me.
So scary.
Yeah. So avoidant caregivers are not responsive, and they are often dismissive and distant, consistently emotionally disconnected from their child, resulting in the child believing that their needs won't get met. So, like I said before, like I feel like from my parents, I got like a secure attachment style. Like they were very like involved and like showed affection, blah blah blah. But I feel like, again, from relationships that I've been through and like friendships and romantic, like it doesn't really matter. I feel like that's how I became avoidant.
Yeah. Do you think it has to do with genetics too, though? Like how you are, like your personality. Like,
Probably.
you know what I mean? Like it has to a little bit. Also, what if because you can, let's say you have you have two caregivers, so your dad and your mom, let's say. What if one of them is distant and the other is not? You know what I mean?
I think it's whatever affects you most.
Okay, yeah. Or who you have a closer relationship
Yeah, because again, personality comes into play. Because let's say like if one of them is very distant and like cold towards you, and the other one's very warm and loving.
Oh, true.
If you're like, okay, I'm just gonna forget about this other parent, don't go to the other one. Like if you're secure with yourself and like, let me just go with the warm loving, then you're probably more secure.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess it has to do with a lot of different types of things.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, lastly, the fearful avoidant attachment. Your caregiver is frightening or traumatizing, leading to the child to experience a deep sense of fear and lack of trust in others, despite wanting close connections. They may be neglectful or even abusive, such that the child develops a poor understanding of boundaries and is confused about what a healthy relationship looks like.
Whoa.
Yeah. So again, like you said, you're fearful. I don't know your childhood, but I feel like your parents are not like intense.
I think
like
I
that.
had trauma for sure,
but not like. Well,
but I think it's mostly comes from my mom being a young mom and not knowing like how to. Because I think one of they mentioned why it could develop, but it's like when your parents are young and it's kind of like they're figuring it out, and plus my mom immigrated here at a young age, so. I mean, I can see why I would have this, but love my parents. But yeah, I mean, you can still love your parents, but doesn't mean they did everything perfectly. So like, 100%. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean they're bad people or they're bad parents. It's just, it is what it is. Like, they did the best they could. So it's okay. I'll take a fearful attachment. I'll work through it.
Yeah, we'll work through it. We'll see.
So now we'll talk about kind of how these attachment styles affect your actual relationships and how it comes into play. And basically each one is different. And why it's important to just know about these because it does shape like how you act in your relationships, even growing up. And like understanding it will make you more self-aware. And if there's things that you need to work on, you'll know that it comes from like it's a foundation, like it comes, there's like a basis to it. Yeah. So you understand yourself better and then you can make your relationships maybe healthier if you feel like they're unhealthy. And just, it allows you to overcome your problems and work on yourself. So the first secure attachment, it doesn't mean you're perfect or that you don't experience any problems, but it just means like you feel more secure and you like take accountability for your mistakes, your actions, and you're the type of person that will seek like emotional support when you need it. You're not scared of your emotions. You can easily express, but it doesn't mean you don't have issues. Yeah. It's just you're more, I guess there's a lot of self-awareness going on too.
I feel like you're not like, if something happens in your relationship, obviously you're affected, but it's kind of like you don't dwell on it.
Exactly. You know how to deal with it.
Exactly.
Maybe, like
your mind catches it and then you're able to get through it.
Yeah. I think you have a lot of emotional, I mean, all of them can have emotional intelligence, but you're more, like you said, you're secure with your emotions, and it has to do with self-worth also. Yeah. You know your worth, and you can be yourself and just like intimate in a relationship. You don't have an issue with that. You express yourself freely and you know what you need. So like I said, you're more self-aware. and you're satisfied with your partner, you'll seek support, but you don't depend on it. So I think that's the difference, is that it's something you want and you want to be in a intimate relationship, but you're not going to depend on it. You're not going to overthink about it. And you don't feel like separation anxiety. Like you won't, what is the word? You don't feel anxious when you're apart. And then you also enjoy your partner seeking emotional support from you as well. So you like vice versa.
Yeah, the back and forth.
Exactly. And then you can control your emotions, resolve issues in a healthy way. And then when you go through challenges in your relationships and life in general, you're able to like kind of bounce back. Like basically kind of balance yourself. You don't really need validation, but you still enjoy talking to your partner and being supported, you know? It's like healthy validation, I guess.
Healthy.
Yeah,
that's what you are. You're healthy.
It's not perfect. It's just that you're really good at communicating and you're just emotionally aware.
You're good at, like, if there is difficulty that comes into play, you're good at getting through
Yes,
it. Yeah.
exactly. I think that's the difference, yeah. So now for, I guess it's called ambivalent or anxious preoccupied attachment style. That's what okay, I guess some of them on the internet have like different, but it's the anxious one, basically. Anxious attachment style. So this one, obviously, like we kind of explained, I'm repeating some things, but it just means that you crave a lot of intimacy and being close to your partner, but you also struggle to really 100% like trust them and rely on them because you're anxious, basically. And you
feel
have,
like this one, you're very dependent on your partner.
Exactly, yeah. And the thing is, you kind of get like all consumed in your relationships and you become very focused on that person. So I guess maybe more in like a romantic way, maybe with friendships too, it could be.
Maybe. I feel like it's because you're scared of them leaving you, you try to do everything in your power to not make that happen. So like you're overcompensating for it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's why it like
could be you put in all your, because it's
like
because here it says intimate relationship, so you can obviously be intimate with a friend like emotionally, but I think if you're with a partner, you're being emotionally intimate and physically, then it's really that person that's like taking all your energy and your focus. It's difficult for you to kind of be around boundaries. So it's not talking about your own boundaries, because, well, I don't know if in this style you necessarily, because I know one of them
have them.
Yeah, one of them is like the struggling with boundaries, but it's difficult for you to observe boundaries. So basically it makes you think that like, oh, like let's say your partner's like, I need some time for myself. You're gonna get fearful.
Like, oh my god, they're gonna break up with me.
Yeah, it's gonna trigger something in you, and you're gonna feel like, oh, they don't want me, you know? So it's just hard for you to, I guess, also create boundaries in that case, because if you can't observe them or have them around you, then I'm assuming it's hard for you to have them for yourself. And your self-esteem is very much based on how you feel you're being treated in the relationship. And if there are any threats kind of to the relationship, like anything, I don't know, maybe someone else is getting close to your partner or something like that. You can have not exaggerated emotions, but maybe like big emotions about it, and it can affect you a lot.
That's why it's like called anxious though, because you're like, you can be triggered by anything.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, this one's, so basically you get anxious and even jealous when you're away from your partner. And in order for you to keep them close, you can use like manipulative, yes, or or abusive tactics to get them closer. Obviously, it's just, you're not a bad person, but you just kind of want to feel that closeness and you don't want anything to get in the way. And you do always need constant reassurance. So it's like validation from your partner. And you can be criticized by others for being clingy or needy, which can make you struggle maintaining close relationships. So I'm assuming like, I don't know if they're saying makes you struggle in maintaining close relationships in the relationship that you're being clingy in, or in other relationships, maybe both.
Probably both, because if they're expressing that you're being clingy, then you're kind of like, oh,
and they're feeling maybe suffocated. If they're not the same attachment style. And then maybe it'll affect your other relationships if you're putting a lot of focus on your romantic one. And now for the avoidant attachment style. So this one is very, Miss Independent, Mr. Independent, maybe. Yeah. Mr., Mrs., they, independent. You really enjoy taking care of yourself, like basically spending time on your own. You don't feel like you need others. Okay, so basically in a relationship, the more they try to get close to you, or the needier your partner is, the more distant you are yourself. Like, you need to get away from them. You feel suffocated, like Catherine said. And you're kind of a little bit uncomfortable facing your emotions in your relationship. And your partner can kind of accuse you of being a bit closed off and distant, and you of them being too needy. So it's the opposite.
Yeah. I'm
She said, I recognize, and you kind of invalidate your partner's feelings, so you kind of gaslight them.
Okay, I don't gaslight.
No,
I
kidding,
accept.
Yes, no. I'm just saying in general.
Exactly. These are like the general definitions. If you say like, let's say you were like, oh, I'm the anxious type, but like I'm not necessarily needy, blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't need to be each of the definitions that we express.
Exactly. It can be like some characteristics or like little things, but it's not 100% everyone is like this. But basically, you kind of invalidate your partner's feelings. You're a little bit dishonest, I guess, and you could be a bit unfaithful, not loyal. And you can also usually end relationships to feel more freedom. So you prefer, because you want to, I guess, avoid, dealing with all of that. Usually you will maybe escape from that and just end it, or just be a bit distant. And you don't have to be all of these, but you could be dishonest, maybe unfaithful, because maybe by not being 100% committed, it allows you to be distant, so that's why maybe you're more tempted to like go somewhere else to get
and they have a lot of commitment issues.
Exactly. And exactly what I was leading to is that they may prefer casual over long term, just because of the fact that they don't need to emotionally dedicate themselves to that person. And then for the last one, which we'll call, I guess, disorganized. It's maybe disoriented. It said disoriented too. Well, I don't know. There's no research on this.
Up and down here.
There you go. That's why there's so many names. But basically, it's really, like we said, it's like between love and hate for a partner. Intimate relationships can be confusing and like unsettling for you because you're so like your emotions are so like up and down. And you could be a bit insensitive towards your partner. So I guess it's not invalidating your feelings, but maybe you can be like, oh, you're so dramatic. But that's kind of invalidating. And then it also says like you can be a bit selfish and controlling and just also untrusting. So you see, already this is confusing. I'm like, where are you at? So like,
I think it's because you're so consumed with your own emotions and feelings that you're kind of like neglecting the other person.
Yeah, exactly. It could be, and because you're on such a love-hate, like you don't know where you stand. Oh, I guess there's like you can be a bit antisocial, have like negative behavior patterns. Basically it can lead to like alcohol abuse, drugs, or it can maybe make you more aggressive or violent in the relationship.
I think like when we were explaining the definitions of the types, we were saying how, again, this is so inconsistent with your behaviors and emotions. And because of that, I feel like you can't come to terms with how you're actually feeling. So you kind of just avoid it. And you use other things like alcohol or drugs to kind of numb the pain because you're like, there's so much going on. I don't know what I'm feeling.
But then you're also anxious because like we said, it's a mix of both because you also want love. But then you don't. Like it's so basically you do want security from a relationship, but you also feel unworthy of love and scared of getting hurt. So that's why it's kind of a mix of both. It's like almost like self-sabotaging. I feel.
100%.
It's like you want it in your relationship, but then you don't. But you're in your head about being worthy or not. So that's basically, hopefully I didn't repeat everything Catherine said, but kind of we tried to relate it to the actual relationships and how these attachment styles would affect your relationships in your adult life. And then now I guess not the goal, but if you want to work on yourself and maybe go towards becoming more of a secure type of attachment style, then there are some ways you could do that. And obviously it's like not logical, but it's just about being healthier and self-awareness. So actively just like work on your relationship with yourself. I think that's, like we said, it's very linked to self-esteem.
Exactly.
How you see yourself, how you feel about yourself. And because it has a lot to do with caregiving, that makes sense because it's like, because you were treated this way, it gave you an image of yourself.
If your parents were very like nitpicky on things and like didn't like congratulate you on achievements and stuff like that, that could have like
like it's normal that this has to do with your self-esteem. So it's really working on yourself and kind of building that, and getting away from any toxic or counterproductive relationship. So if you have friendships or relationships that are toxic, I mean, that's not going to help you to develop a secure attachment. And this has to do with relationships. So you need to have healthy relationships, like someone who's has, I guess, a healthy attachment style or healthy ways of thinking and doing things in order to also get closer to that. And then I guess building your self-esteem, but that kind of goes hand in hand with working on your relationship with yourself also. And then I think this main thing has to do with your emotions, your emotional intelligence, and being able to face your emotions, but also expressing them to other people. Because I think sometimes we could be honest with ourselves, but we may have to, because it's just us, me, myself, and I. But
just in my head.
Just in my head. But maybe also writing them out will help, but then also being able
journaling,
like we always say, but also expressing those with somebody else, because I think that's where the scary moments can happen. So to get more to that secure style, you need to be able to, or get comfortable expressing that and not feel like bad or guilty about it. And yeah, lean on your friends for support, family too, if you're having trouble, struggling with something, like just communicate with them. Don't be like closed off, I think. And then if you need help.
What you can do also, if you're kind of having trouble deciphering what type you are, maybe like sit down, even if you don't have a romantic partner, look at your friendships and see kind of how, like, if someone's expressing something to you, like, how do you react? Do you, like, you don't know what to say and you're kind of just awkwardly there, or you're like crying with them, like how do you interact with that? And also if you're hanging out with people or not hanging out with people, are you being avoidant, or are you being kind of anxious because you're like, let me step back because maybe I'm being too much with them. Like that, you can kind of decipher from that way. For example, for myself, I'm very emotionally unavailable. I have a really hard time expressing emotions and all of that stuff. Because I'm like that, I've tried journaling. Journaling did help me, I find. Like, I was able to kind of like, because even I'm so emotionally unavailable that sometimes I don't even know how I feel about the situation.
Like self-awareness.
Like, I just like close it off. Like, I'm just like, okay, I'm avoiding the situation, like not doing this. So like, if that is happening to you, journaling is a great way to kind of like just let yourself spill it out, because you may not know what you're feeling, and by doing that you have to sit with yourself and just think.
Like face to face with your emotions and like writing them down, read it out loud, and you see it.
And I feel like slowly as you continue to journal and like build that, then like you'll be able to express yourself more and like actually know what you're feeling and be able to say it.
Because I think the first step is, because like you said, maybe you go through emotions, but you don't process them sometimes. Like, but even everyone can do that. But writing them down, you're actually becoming aware, and like reading it, you see it. And I was thinking, if you're not sure, because even when I was trying to figure out which one I was like, I think people from the outside, not always, but like your friends may be able to help you with that if they see something in you that you may not. But obviously, you know yourself very well, and you know how you interact. And so that can definitely help. And the last one was just like healing on past negative experiences through therapy, professional counseling. That is always a good thing, and we always recommend, because obviously this develops through, it could be through trauma or just experiences, how you grew up. So it has a lot to do with just like how your lifestyle was and like your environment. So obviously therapy really will help for you to just face to face with your emotions and become more secure. Yeah,
for sure. And we do have a few episodes that I feel like would help touch upon this. So like we have a self-love episode. We have the healing from past trauma episode. We have a boundaries episode. I feel like
even
all of
adult
that.
Friendships, like just our self-help and like advice podcast episodes. Sorry.
If you're really feeling like you need to work on yourself, those are like the key ones I find to like kind of like
get you going
and kind of connect with yourself, so you can kind of develop what it would be like to have this secure relationship.
And like my counselor would say this, she'd always be like, because we kind of think of ourselves as like fixing ourselves, but it's not. You don't necessarily need to think about it that way. You know, you're fine the way that you are, but it's more if you're trying to become more emotionally, like work on your relationship to be successful, but it's like you're not broken or anything like that. It's just, I guess it's just a way of speaking, but it just allows you to succeed more in your relationships, I guess, and be healthy.
And and get those healthy relationships, so you're not like either fighting all the time
Yes.
or like avoiding the topic all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Because you want to progress, I guess, in your relationship.
Yeah.
So this will allow that.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for the episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know if you learned about different attachment styles, if you identified with any, and if you've ever heard about these or this is your first time. Give us feedback as usual. We're very open to it. And of course, follow us on our social media. We're on Instagram, Wild Thoughts Pod, TikTok, YouTube. Subscribe, leave feedback, and you can follow us on our personal socials also. That will also always be linked below. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Bye.